The sun was dipping below the horizon, casting a warm orange glow over my quiet cul-de-sac in Willow Creek, Oregon, when my Friday evening took a turn straight into a nightmare. It was July 17th, 2024, and I'd just pulled into my driveway after a grueling day at the shop, wrestling with a stubborn alternator that refused to cooperate. All I wanted was to crack open a cold beer, kick back, and spend a few minutes admiring my pride and joy a 1967 Ford Mustang I'd spent 3 years restoring from a rusted heap into a gleaming masterpiece. That car wasn't just a hobby. It was my lifeline, a symbol of piecing my life back together after my divorce from Sarah left me with limited time with my 9-year-old daughter, Lily. But as I stepped out of my truck, I froze. There, standing in my driveway like a scene from a bad movie, was Evelyn Harper, our HOA president, flanked by half a dozen neighbors, all staring at me like I'd just robbed a bank. Evelyn's finger was pointed at my garage, her voice slicing through the evening air. "That's my car," she shrieked. "I bought that exact Mustang this morning for $50,000, and it was stolen from my garage. Now it's here." I stood there, keys dangling in my hand, as police sirens wailed in the distance. Can you imagine being accused of stealing your own car? Let me set the scene. I'm Ethan Carter, a 38-year-old mechanic who's poured every spare moment and dollar into that Mustang. It's not just metal and chromites, the late nights in the garage, the calluses on my hands, the quiet moments when I'd talk to Lily about life while sanding down rust. After my ex-wife decided her personal trainer was a better fit than me, Lily's weekend visits became my anchor, and that car was our project, something we dream about driving together one day. But Evelyn Harper wasn't your average nosy neighbor. She was a 50-year-old real estate mogul who'd ruled our HOA like a queen for 4 years, her sharp eyes catching every blade of grass out of place. She had a knack for making you feel guilty just for existing, her perfectly manicured lawn a silent judgment on the rest of us. The moment I opened my garage door, revealing my Mustang in all its cherry-red glory, Evelyn's performance kicked into high gear. She waved official-looking papers, purchase receipts, insurance documents like she was presenting evidence in a courtroom. "I paid cash for that car at Elite Vintage Autos," she declared, her voice trembling with rehearsed outrage. "It was delivered at noon, gone by 3 p.m., and now it's in his garage." The neighbors ate it up. Mrs. Larson, clutching her purse, whispered loudly to her husband, "I always knew Ethan was trouble. Who restores a car like that on a mechanic's salary?" Mr. Reynolds, phone in hand, was already filming, probably hoping for viral content. The Morgan twins, usually glued to their skateboards, stood gawking. I tried to explain this was my car. I had receipts, photos, years of work logged, but my voice sounded small against Evelyn's polished accusations. Then, as Officer Daniels rolled up in his patrol car, lights flashing, Evelyn leaned in close and whispered something that made my blood run cold. "I know where my real car is, Ethan." That's when I realized this wasn't a mistake. This was a calculated attack, and I was the target. I spent that night pacing my empty garage. They'd impounded my Mustang based on her paperwork, trying to make sense of it. By 2 a.m., I was deep in Google, digging into Elite Vintage Autos and Evelyn Harper. The dealer confirmed they'd sold her a 1967 Mustang for $50,000 cash, delivered to her garage at noon, just as she claimed. But here's where it gets twisted. The salesman mentioned Evelyn had visited their lot multiple times, bringing photos of a car to find an exact match. Guess whose Mustang was in those photos? Mine. That's when my neighbor, Tom Bradley, a 67-year-old retired detective, knocked on my door. Tom had seen it all in his 35 years on the force, and he smelled a rat. "Ethan," he said, sipping coffee at my kitchen table, "this has insurance fraud written all over it." The timing, the documents, the crowd. She planned this. Using his old law enforcement contacts, Tom tracked down a storage unit across town, rented under a fake name, but paid for with Evelyn's credit card. Inside, her stolen Mustang, safe and sound. This wasn't just fraud, it was personal. What Tom uncovered next was chilling. Evelyn had been watching me for over a year, documenting my routines, my work schedule, even Lily's weekend visits. Her Ring doorbell was angled to catch my driveway, with photos of Lily playing in my yard, videos of me working on the car, even recordings of conversations I'd had with friends. She'd build a dossier on me, targeting me because I was a divorced introvert with limited cash and no local Ritza perfect mark. But it wasn't just me. Tom found evidence that Evelyn had driven 7 families out of Willow Creek over the past 4 years, pocketing $250,000 in commissions by forcing quick sales at rock-bottom prices. She'd target the vulnerable single parents, retirees, anyone under pressure using fake noise complaints, code violations, even child services reports to break them. And the kicker? She wasn't alone. HOA Treasurer Laura Bennett had co-signed the storage unit rental, feeding Evelyn my financial records, custody details, even my divorce settlement. This conspiracy had been brewing for 20 months, and I'd been clueless. The harassment escalated. Every day brought new HOA fines, $200 for non-compliant mailbox paint, $200 for my truck parked an inch off center, $200 for excessive noise from starting my engine. Lily, bless her, asked over the phone, "Dad, why does the mean lady think our fence is a criminal?" It would have been funny if it wasn't so infuriating. Then Evelyn showed up at my door at midnight, dressed like she was heading to a board meeting, and said, "Time is a myth, Ethan. Justice never sleeps." I stared at her, in my sweatpants, thinking, "Lady, you're quoting bumper stickers at midnight on my porch." But her unhinged behavior was deliberate. She wanted me to look unstable. Tom warned me to tread carefully. Evelyn wasn't just a bully. She had connections in real estate, local government, even law enforcement, making her a dangerous predator. Then came the gut punch. Tom found a folder in Evelyn's basement. Yes, he'd done some legally gray surveillance labeled Contingency Seattle. It contained over 300 photos of Lily, at school, the bus stop, our weekend ice cream runs. There were maps of her school routes, her daily schedule, even fake IDs and safe house addresses in Washington. If I didn't sell my house and vanish, Evelyn was prepared to make Lily disappear. This wasn't about property values, Anna Maria, it was about my daughter's safety. The community meeting we organized was electric. 80 residents packed the Willow Creek Rec Center, with local news cameras outside. Tom and I presented 600 pages of evidence, storage unit videos, financial records, victim testimonies. Laura, now cooperating with the FBI, played recordings of Evelyn planning evidence destruction and targeting new families. When Evelyn took the stage, flanked by high-priced lawyers, she called it a witch hunt, led by a desperate mechanic. But her mask slipped. "You people live like roaches," she screamed, ranting about undesirable families dragging down property values. The room gasped as her racism and classism spilled out. Detective Larson cuffed her on the spot, her own words sealing her fate. But as Evelyn was led away, she mouthed 3 words to me: "Others will continue." Within days, the FBI uncovered a property fraud network spanning 15 states, with Evelyn as a mid-level player. She'd trained dozens of HOA leaders and realtors, turning neighborhood governance into a multi-million-dollar racket. The trial was a circus. Her defense team painted me as a shady mechanic hiding financial sins, bankruptcy filings, sketchy loans for my Mustang restoration. They weren't wrong. I'd cut corners during my divorce, but nothing illegal. Still, the jury's doubt was palpable. Tom's testimony, backed by his detective cred, was our lifeline, detailing Evelyn's operation with surgical precision. Victims' stories broke hearts: a teen's suicide attempt, an elderly couple's forced nursing home move, a single mom's lost home. Laura's recordings were the knockout blow, with Evelyn casually discussing using kids as leverage. The jury took 40 hours but returned guilty verdicts on 25 counts, including racketeering. Evelyn got 20 years. As she was led away, still ranting about unfair treatment, Lily whispered, "Dad, can we get ice cream now?" Tom grinned. "Kid, we're getting the whole Sunday bar." The aftermath was transformative. Our story sparked a national movement, with 18 states passing the Carter Act for HOA transparency. Lily, now thriving in therapy, spoke at her school about courage, inspiring kids nationwide. Tom's book, Neighborhood Predators, became a bestseller, and his foundation helped 250 communities fight corruption. Our street became a haven, with property values soaring not from exclusion, but from unity. Evelyn's old house, bought by a vibrant immigrant family whose garden feeds half the block. Lily, wise beyond her 13 years, said, Dad, their house looks happy now. My garage, once a battleground, is now a community hub where we fix cars and solve problems together. The Mustang, valued at $250,000 for its infamous story, still gets driven every weekend because symbols matter when they're real. But Evelyn's final words linger. Others will continue. Even now, families in distant towns report similar harassment. So, I ask you, what would you do if your neighbor turned predator, targeting your family for profit? Could you stand up to a system rigged against you? And what secrets might your own HOA be hiding? Share your thoughts, hit that like button, and subscribe. You need to keep exposing these stories. Because somewhere, another Evelyn is watching, and silence is her greatest weapon.